Okay, in this video we're going to model fraction pieces as represented by grid squares. Alright, so let's take a look at a piece that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pieces. So this is what one whole is. This big long piece that I have here that's shaded in blue is what I have that represents one whole. So in one whole, I actually have it cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces. I counted those to make sure I had 12 instead of 11. Okay, so how could I show 1/3 based on this? Okay, so the strategy way that children use is thinking about sharing. So if it's 1/3, it would be 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I'm keeping track of my threes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that means each child's going to get 4 pieces. Alright, so let's model then 1/3. So 1/3 of this in a different color, I'm going to model here. Okay, so that this is 1 and this is 1/3. Okay, now let's think about 1/4. So I want to share my fractions with 4 children. So we're going to count with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each child would get 3 pieces. So that this size piece represents 1/4. Now think about that, because then here would be the second fourth, and here would be the third fourth, and here would be the fourth fourth. So that would be 4 different pieces that each have 3 parts. Alright, 1/3 would be, this would be 1/3, and this would be another third. Okay, so now let's think about that, and let's add 1/2. Let's add 1/3 plus 1/4. Alright, now if I add 1/3 plus 1/4, 1/3 has 4 pieces. So I'm going to model that. Has 4 pieces. Okay, and then 1/4 has 3 pieces. Alright, now think about this. This is 1/4 of this big piece. This is 1/3 of this big piece. So this is what one whole is. Okay, so my one whole is cut into 12ths or 12 pieces. So each one of these, in this final answer, each one of these small little squares represents 1/12. Okay, so I have 4 12ths, okay, or 1/3. I have 3 12ths, or 1/4. And when I add those together, I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 12 pieces. So I have 7 twelfths, and 7 twelfths won't reduce. So I did a fraction addition based on using blocks. Now, why did that work? Okay, it worked because what I did when I'm looking at this is I very deliberately chose 12 because I knew that I was going to use 3 and 4 as denominators, and I knew that both of those numbers divided into 12 evenly. Okay, so if I wanted to think about using the number, if I wanted to think about using 10 blocks then, okay, I could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the only fractions that I would be able to add with 10 blocks, because each of those represents 1/10, would be things that divide evenly into 10. So I could do fifths or I could do halves. Okay, so 1/5, remember what we did, 1/5, so I've got 5 children. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 10 things. So, excuse me, a half rather would have 5 pieces. So these would represent 1/2. And if I was doing 1/5, okay, then that would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I would be dividing into 2 children. Okay, so when I look at 1/5, I get a block that's like this. And I look at 1/2 and I get a block that looks like this. So let's say I have 2/5 plus 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to use blocks of 10. So I have 2/5. Now a fifth has 2 blocks, so I have 1 2/5. And then I'm going to add a half to that, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. Okay, now remember my whole piece has 10 blocks. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it has an additional piece out here. So basically I'm using everything but 1/10. So that when I add these two fractions together, I should get 9/10. Let's see. Okay, I have 2/5, which is 1, 2, which is the same thing as 4/10. And then I have 1/2, which is the same thing as 5/10. And when I add those together, I get 9/10. Okay? Now, I also like to use the grid model to show you the way to represent this fraction that I'm drawing. Sometimes students mistakenly, now notice I'm cutting each of these into 4 pieces, and students mistakenly look at this piece right here, and I ask, what does the shaded part represent in this picture? And students will look at that and typically say 1/4. Well, that is 1/4 of that picture, but it's not 1/4 of the whole picture, because what I have is 3 holes here, but each of them has 4 pieces. So I actually have 4, 8, 12 pieces, and only one of them shaded. So the shaded piece is actually 1/12. Okay, because again, we're looking at all the pieces. Okay, this is 1/4 for this one, but it's not 1/4 when you think about looking at the whole picture. Okay? And this is fractions with grids.